Question for those who have ever signed a non-disclosure agreement (NDA) whose terms have expired. What were you not allowed to tell anyone, but now can? I was made to sign an NDA about a secret shipment that arrived at the warehouse where I work security. The unloading started at 2 a.m. A transit van arrived without any identifying marks. I checked the biometric data of the two guys who were supposed to do the unloading and asked them for the password. Then I had to deactivate the cameras on all floors along their route inside the building and erase the footage that showed them entering and leaving. And these were video cassettes that could record for many hours and often got chewed up. They unloaded some kind of vessels and took them to a private storage facility. I don't know what the hell was in there, but I've never encountered such secrecy before, even when unloading precious metals. Hackers were able to hack Sony and extract terabytes of information from their servers because of that movie about North Korea that Kim Jong-un didn't like, because the company didn't block the account of an employee who had quit 5 years prior. After I quit one company, they forgot to delete my account on their investor website. Only 5 people from that company had access to this information as it contained people's data, their addresses, social security numbers, credit ratings, and the like. Data of more than 400,000 people. 3 years later, I was already working for a competing company that worked with the same clients. I logged into the site from my old workplace out of old habit and it worked. Extremely short-sighted of them. I was a model for several popular cosmetic companies. I was filmed for magazine ads and television commercials. Makeup artists actually use the advertised product on set, but in minimal amounts. For example, for mascara commercials, models are given very good false eyelashes, and often a different mascara is used alongside the one they want to promote on the market. Also, a lot of tricks are required to make the advertised clothes fit well on the models. They don't actually fit as well as they seem, and it's not about the figure at all. It's a fake for advertising. In fact, if these shitty clothes weren't pinned and taped, the models would look like regular people in them. I'm an actor who appeared in an ad where the creators claimed they filmed real people, not actors. I hate when they say real people, not actors. I know a lot of actors, and they're all real people. I worked as a contract translator for the US Army, and I also translated Marvel comics. Marvel has much stricter NDA conditions. That doesn't surprise me at all. I worked in the aerospace industry under contract for most of my career. But the strictest NDA I signed was at a confectionery factory where I worked with a candy packaging machine. Mini Coopers and BMWs were massively replacing sold cars because the high-pressure fuel pumps on them were failing up to 6 times within 6 months. However, the most common reason for replacing a car was that the interiors got dirty too easily from dirty hands, so the person didn't have the right to refuse the purchased car. A new car released by my company was driving at 100 kilometers per hour. The rear differential locked up. The car crashed and caught fire. The passengers couldn't get out. You think the company decided to recall this model from sales? Take the number of cars produced and sold. A, multiply by the probable proportion of defective cars. B, multiply by the average cost of legal expenses. C, multiply A by B and then by C. The result is D. If D is less than the cost of reissuing, no one will go for it. At my last job, I signed an agreement that I would never sue them for any reason. In exchange, they increased my salary every year. After I quit there, I participated in a class action lawsuit against the company for forcing employees into such an agreement, using the size of the salary as a tool of pressure. So I also made money on it. In 1990, I signed an NDA with a well-known restaurant chain. After they taught me how to make their signature onion rings. None of the restaurants in our city had a similar dish, and it was very popular at the time. I did an internship at a banking company. All the interns in different branches were put into groups, each of which was supposed to develop a project that went beyond our internship. Our group was assigned to analyze the incentive program, the very program the company was about to implement, and suggest ways to improve it. 2 weeks before the presentation, all the groups were combined and we were all forced to sign an NDA. A couple of years later, a scandal broke out around their incentive program. It turned out that employees were opening fictitious accounts for clients to attract more money. Dell closed all retail locations to save money to fire its CEO, and all because no one bothered to double-check his contract, which contained a clause stating that he had the right to set himself a salary of any size and increase it whenever he wanted. And he could only be fired by providing a golden parachute of $40 million. So the management had to raise $40 million as soon as possible or go bankrupt before the next reporting period. That's how Dell almost went bankrupt in 1 week because of the CEO's greed. My friend got a job at a well-known local distillery that makes extremely popular flavored whiskeys. In reality, they buy whiskey from a third-party distillery and just add flavoring syrup to it. When I was little, I was taken to the dentist to treat a cavity. When the dentist was drilling, the drill slipped and he drilled a hole under my tongue. My mom noticed that I was all hunched over in the chair and the doctor said, "Oops, I cut a little there. Don't be scared if it bleeds a little." We went home and an hour later, my neck swelled up like a frog. My voice became squeaky. I was taken to the hospital with code 4. Code 5 is fatal. When my mom decided to sue the dentist for damages, he claimed that I was kicking, screaming, and not listening to him during the procedure. He even made his assistant testify on his behalf. It was a total fuck up. I like this dentist and in general, I always tried to please everyone. And I was under the influence of laughing gas. The lawyer hired by my mom was pessimistic and said that we should settle and sign a confidentiality agreement because we had practically no chance of success. My mom agreed to this, as she was a naive person and was afraid to fight a firm full of liars. She couldn't tell the truth about what the dentist did to me, even though in subsequent years we heard many horror stories about how he fucked up people's mouths. What's especially offensive is that every lawyer we talked to afterward said that we had a good chance of success, and we would most likely have won. Really won. I worked at a casino. We almost always stayed ahead, largely due to the use of computers. If any of the dealers were suspected of cheating, they were monitored for 3 months to make sure they had no accomplices. A facial recognition program was used for this, and if one player sat down with the same dealer several times, it would mean that they were accomplices. Then, when the dealer was caught cheating, he was forced to watch a video where he breaks the law. They did this to make the dealer feel guilty and not spend money on a lawsuit. Google doesn't hire tech support staff. They open small offices. In the US, they hire up to 250 contract employees in various positions to work. Once they achieve results that allow them to effectively manage the workflow, there are massive layoffs, and all tech support functions are outsourced to companies in other countries, like the Philippines or India, where they are willing to work for much less money than their American colleagues. At the same time, Google gets the right to pay much lower taxes because they are creating jobs in small towns. Apple has already replaced all iPhone 4s with the shitty antenna for users. We were told to dodge the question, deny it, and not admit that there was a problem with the antennas. You have a shitty operator, it's a glitch, anything. It was impossible to admit the defect. However, if anyone asked to replace the phone complaining about poor signal reception, unlike customers who drowned their phones, broke buttons, or complained about weak batteries, we were instructed to take their phones and give them phones from the new batch in return. Under no circumstances should phones be given from the original batch. Thus, defective phones were replaced without much fuss, but only those with an antenna defect. I had to sign an NDA in the Army when I was assigned to a special training area that was created for military medics. Training was conducted on animals, namely goats. The NDA was signed so that the public would not find out what was happening there and ban the training program. My attitude to this place is ambiguous.